Yo, what is up, guys? It is me, Real American Politics, back in with a new video. Before I start today's video, I just want to say I think I fixed the audio situation. It was a setting in OBS, and yes, as you can hear, there is a slight echo. If there is, sorry about that. Still working on the studio thing I'm working on right now. Still in production, and yes, but it's a lot better audio quality. I mean, last time you would just hear me cut out, you would hear me die. It just wasn't working. So that's a disclaimer before today's video. Now, before I start with today's topic in mind, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, and yes, let's try to hit 9,000 subs by next week. I know that's impossible, but I still think we can do it. Also, follow my Twitter in the description down below. My new Twitter, the other one, sadly is dead. So yes, we get the point. Shut up about this advertising your own stuff. Okay, let's get right into it. So, we're of course doing the recall having next week. Recall having next week. What am I saying? But next Tuesday, the recall is happening, and we're going to have two more predictions, right? This prediction, and next Monday, there's going to be one final last stand analysis of what's happening in California. And yes, there's a lot happening. As you could tell, we have around 6.5 million mail-in ballots returned. And before we talk about the demographics of the ballots, I just want to say something real quickly about the returned ballots and what the turnout's looking like it's going to be. So I did some basic math. Roughly 12 million ballots, mail-in ballots, were people that voted in California by mail in the 2020 election, right? Roughly 12 million people returned their ballots. I did some basic math, okay? Based on how many ballots we got left, how many days we got left, all that good stuff. As of now, I am expecting 8.5 million mail-in votes to happen, okay? Now, why is this important? Well, in 2020, after doing some basic data, more than half of the total vote was from mail-in votes. This is not a particularly good sign for Newsom, because, roughly speaking, if he was getting the Democrat turnout he needed, the Newsom good turnout, he should be getting 12 million mail-in votes. In fact, he's going to be 8.5 million at most, and it's starting to slow down a bit. That's not particularly swell for Newsom. Again, I may be off by like 200,000. You get the point that, roughly speaking, 8.5 million ballots will be by mail. And you can expect, roughly speaking, there's going to probably be like 13, 14 million votes. This is a pretty big recall, so expect a higher turnout than usual for this recall. Yeah, 14 million at the most. But I expect like 12, 13 million votes to be via in-person or early. And that's a good sign for Republicans. I mean, that's a little bit more than we had in 2020. So that already is a good sign for Republicans. Now we got the boring data stuff out of the way. We got to look at, of course, what's happening with the return ballots. And everybody is focused on this number up here. 53% of returned ballots is Democrat. 22% of returned ballots is independents, 25% Republican. People are freaking out about this. It's over! It's over, they claim. I have to burst that bubble real quickly because this number, when you look at it, not too swell for Democrats. Now, 47% of the states are registered Democrat, and they have 53% of returned ballots. Republicans are 24% of registered voters. They're 25% of returned ballots. So this is mostly just the independent vote is just down the tubes right now. This is very low turnout for that independent, more so quote unquote independent. They're mostly Democrats they're Democrats, okay? But these are independent voters in California. They're not turning out for Newsom. These are the voters where if this was a higher percentage independent, like 30%, closer to 29%, then yeah, for sure Newsom probably recall fails like 15 points. The fact it's only 22% tells me a lot of those independent-leaning Democrats either just refusing to vote in this recall because they don't want a Republican governor, but at the same time they don't like Newsom, or they just don't care. This is my theory. And we're seeing this in the Republican vote. I mean, the fact they're overperformed by a point when this is mail-in voting, that's a pretty good sign for Republicans. And yes, Democrats overperforming by themselves, yes. But 53% is Democrat when they're 47% of the state. That should be 60%. Now, again, I believe that in 2020, they're roughly 51%. When you account for the no party affiliation stuff, that was probably closer to 54, 55%. So that alone already tells you that they're already starting to underperform this basic metric. So already, it's going to be at least the floor for the recall is 42% are going to say yes. The absolute floor. If it's any lower, California people just move. Literally nothing's going to save your state. It's over. If this recall doesn't get below, it gets below 42%, just leave. All right? Just get out of there. That's not a good sign. But this is the one part that may scare Democrats, and why these registered Democrats and registered independents are probably more in favor of the recall. Just scroll down here to the ethnic group. It's almost 70% white. The state's around 60% white with the old ballots. So white voters are overperforming by 10 percentage points. Hispanics or Latinos underperforming by 10 points. Asians staying in line. African Americans roughly staying in line. So you get the point that Latino voters are underperforming by 10 percentage points. This is a core Democrat group, even with them trending Republican, yes. Folks, these Latinos that are voting, they're not going to be enthusiastic about voting for Newsom. If anything, they're going to be enthusiastic to vote, get rid of this guy. And also the white vote. This is a favorable group to Elder for the recall. Very favorable. The fact they're at 70% turnout, right? Or not 70% turnout, 70% of the electorate, when it's should be like 58%. That's not a good sign. And of course, we got the boomer vote, 65 and plus, 38%. 50 and 64%, 29%. The 18 to 34 group, only 15%. Now again, these are mail-in votes. Of course, the boomers are going to vote heavy by mail. But you just even look at the raw numbers. That's pathetic turnout compared to the boomers. I mean, boomers roughly have half turnout, 50% turnout. While 18 to 34, I don't think they even cracked 15%, if I'm doing my math correctly. Same thing for 35 to 49, even for 50 to 64. You're noticing these are groups mostly favorable to Republicans that are turning out. However, this is why I'm saying as of now, it's probably the recall is going to fail by like 10 points as of now. This is my reasoning. Go on the website, Real America Politics. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry for advertising this, but I just had to. As of now, based on polling data we have, recall is going to fail by roughly 9 points. Now, what will make this margin closer is enthusiasm gap. The recall definitely has the enthusiasm edge. So when you account for that, Keep is probably going to succeed by 7-8 points. But my personal prediction, probably a 10-point failure for recall. As of now, I think it's 10-point failure. I just think Republicans botched their messaging on this. I mean, when Elder announced his candidacy, I thought it was for sure Newsom was done. But then you look at some data, Republicans' messaging sucked. They wasted Elder as a candidate. They completely botched it. The Republicans basically split the vote, basically turned off a lot of those Elder voters. And I'm talking about Ellis, because quite frankly, Jenna Ellis, I don't know what her problem is. That moron probably botched this race for them. Folks, the reason this recall is going to fail is not because of Elder. Elder is running a fine campaign. He's doing events everywhere. The failure is the GOP as a whole, and plus the Democrats spending an exorbitant amount of money in this race, and actually campaigning to all hell and back, just spamming advertisements. That's the reason the recalls are going to succeed, not because well, California likes Newsom is because Republicans, once again, somehow blew this race. Now, there is 6-7 days left. The demographics are favorable. The question is this: who will turn out? This is what the election will come down to. If Trump voters are the big turnout surge in the next week or so, there's a chance this margin probably gets like a recall fails by 2 or 3. If it's Newsom heavy voters, Biden heavy voters, recall is going to fail by 12 points, 15 points. Again, the floor for the recall is 42%. It's not gotten lower ever, other than 43%, I believe, is the lowest, roughly speaking. So it's not going to get any lower than that. The recall is going to fail, and as of now, I give it a 22% chance of the recall succeeding, but again, that's a very slim chance. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.